December 20th, 1943. Franz Stigler was hunting. The German fighter ace had just refueled and was climbing back into the freezing sky over Bremen when he saw it. A B-17 flying fortress, alone, limping through the clouds like a wounded bird. Easy kill, his 40th victory, maybe the Iron Cross First Class. He pushed the throttle forward, closing the distance, his thumb hovering over the firing button. Then he got close enough to see inside the bomber. What Franz Stigler saw that day would change his life forever. The B-17's nose was blown off, gone. Just a gaping hole where the bombardier used to sit. The tail gunner hung motionless in his turret, the guns pointing at nothing. Through the gaps in the fuselage, he could see wounded men, blood painting the interior red. And in the cockpit, a pilot barely conscious, fighting to keep the plane in the air with one hand because the other was probably wounded. This wasn't a bomber. This was a flying coffin. Franz had been a Luftwaffe pilot since 1940. He'd survived the Battle of Britain, North Africa, and 3 years of combat over Germany. He'd been shot down twice, wounded once. He'd killed men. He'd watched friends die, but Gustav, his commanding officer, had told him something on his first day that he'd never forgotten. "If I ever hear you shot a man in a parachute, I'll shoot you myself. We are fighter pilots, not murderers." Franz looked at the B-17 again, at the wounded crew, at the pilot barely holding on. Shooting them wouldn't be combat. It would be murder. He made a decision that would haunt him for 50 years. He pulled alongside the B-17, close enough to see the pilot's eyes widen in terror. Franz waved, not a threat, a greeting. He pointed downward, land. He mouthed the words in English. "You need to land." The American pilot, Charlie Brown, shook his head. No, Franz understood. If they landed in Germany, they'd be prisoners, or worse. He pointed towards Sweden, neutral territory, safety. The pilot still didn't understand. So Franz Stigler did something absolutely insane. He flew formation with the B-17, escorting it toward the coast, past German anti-aircraft batteries that would have blown it out of the sky. He positioned his fighter between the bomber and the ground, preventing German gunners from firing without hitting a German plane. For 15 minutes, a Luftwaffe ace and an American bomber flew together, not as enemies, but as something else, something harder to define. When they reached the coast, Franz saluted, waggled his wings, and peeled away. He never reported the encounter. Neither did Charlie Brown, who somehow made it back to England with what was left of his crew. For 40 years, neither man spoke about what happened that day. Franz because he'd violated direct orders. Charlie because no one would believe him anyway. A German fighter pilot escorting an American bomber to safety. It sounded like a fairy tale. But in 1990, Charlie Brown placed an ad in a combat pilot newsletter, seeking German pilot who saved B-17 over Bremen, December 1943. 4 months later, he got a letter. "I was that pilot." Franz Stigler. They met in person for the first time in Seattle. 2 old men, one American, one German, who hugged like brothers and wept. Franz died in 2008, Charlie in 2008, just 6 months later. But before they died, they told their story, and it became a book, and the book became famous. A Higher Call, they named it, because that's what Franz answered that day in December 1943. A higher call than orders, than duty, than hatred, the call of one human being to another. If this story moved you, you need to subscribe to this channel, because we're bringing you the stories that prove humanity survives, even in the darkest times. Comment below and tell me, would you have made the same choice Franz made? Would you have risked everything to save the enemy? These are the questions worth asking. See you on the next flight.